Howdy, hi, and hello. Welcome to Noah's Nest. If you have never seen these before, I am Noah, and I will be sitting down, and you all can get all nice, comfy, and cozy. Drink some hot chocolate since it's getting colder outside, or if you really want to, drink some coffee to get wired, because you might be listening to this in the morning, or on a work day, or on a weekend. Noah's Nest is where I, myself, Noah, once again, will talk about a topic of my choosing, create a bunch of different characters from a specific type of TTRPG, or teach you how to play a certain TTRPG. And today, well, I'm doing a topic. I know, topics aren't really as fun, but this is kind of interesting to me. I am going to be talking about the history of tabletop role-playing games, or TTRPGs. Pretty much where it all stemmed from, what happened in those early stages, to what it has slowly become now. It's going to be a rough one, but we'll see what happens. So, right off the bat, what are TTRPGs? What is role-playing? What is tabletop role-playing games? Well, it is where you yourself get a couple different friends, decide to sit around a table and play as different characters or different people to do actions or act in a specific way. Now, it might emphasis on the name tabletop. Nowadays, you do not have to play at a table. You don't have to play in person. You can play online, and also with a tabletop, it was based around pen and paper. It is now not around pen and paper. It can be computer based. But we'll get into that a little bit further down the pipeline. So, early role-playing is pretty much based off on wargaming. It is pretty much ancient strategy games. Think of chess. That is a type of wargaming. But at the very, very beginning of everything with tabletop role-playing, David Wensley developed a game called Braunstein, which was based around a fictional German town called Braunstein, where you would act or play as possibly a military role, or a banker, or university professor, a mayor, or whatever. And you would kind of just role play different scenarios played by the GM. The next one that was created was Strategos, which was developed by Charles A.L. Tolkien. It was pretty much based around the same thing, but it was for the United States Army. It was published back in 1880. Then, fast forward even more to 1971, a miniature war game called Chainmail was created. It was created by Gary Gygax and Jeffrey Perrin. So in Chainmail, it was a more war game. Think of Warhammer nowadays, where they played out a huge terrain pile, from horsemen to Lightfoot people, light horse, medium horse, melee-based people, and they would only use 6-sided dice. There was jousting, there was man-to-man combat. But think of more Warhammer, where it would just be a mass combat against 3, 4, 5 different people. And then, fast forward 3 years later, was Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons was created in 1974, where it has slowly become to what it is today. After many, many revised and quote-unquote updates, it has become of what it is today. Gary Gygax and David Anderson created this, and they made it public and made it the first commercially available role-playing game. It was more targeted for people thought it was more niche wargaming, but it turned to something even more. Around the same time, many other publishers created things like the Empire of Petal Throne, Traveler, Call of Cthulhu, and many other games. But the main one that pretty much started everything, in my opinion, was Dungeons and Dragons. It created that world where you could physically do whatever. Yes, this was back in 74, but also as time went on to like the mid 80s and early 90s, many other games were created. And even though there was this thing called Satanic Panic came around, people were intrigued but also worried in the same way. Many other TTRPGs came along, from games like Gamma World to Boot Hill, GURPS, Fantasy Hero, and so many more, have pretty much took the world by storm by creating all of these different games for people to play at their table, but also families and many people worrying about satanic rituals happening and people being possessed or swaying the wrong way. As time went on, we went past all of the bad, pretty much the blossom of TTRPGs from wargaming systems to pretty much a golden age where all of these different TTRPGs came into the light for people to play. And there was the bad with all of the satanic stuff, but there was also, it declined. Not that many people were interested after the first wave of it being announced, which people, like publishers, were worried that like they just did all this and got nothing out of it. But luckily, thank God, more people were able to get their toes into it as the late 90s and early 2000s hit. That's when more of the indie publishers came into play. Or you could say like an indie revolution. All of these new mechanics with not just a D20 or not just D6s, they created more dice. So many games you can only use a D6. Like Dungeons and Dragons, you would use a D20 and a couple other dice. But as time went on, you're now able to use so much more. Not just a D6, not just a D20, but maybe a D8, a D100, a D32 for some reason. Which caused a blossom to all these new creators. Some of these games didn't want to be more combat heavy like the other war games. They wanted to be more story driven, like Fate or Apocalypse World, Call of Cthulhu, those dark places. Well, Cthulhu Dark, and which brought in more people. Because, yes, there is a niche for Warhammer and wargaming systems, but some people don't want to play combat only. We want a story. And luckily, the new age came and we conquered a story-driven era. Now, including all these diversities from bringing in different ethnic groups, disabilities, races, and all these other things, were able to bring everyone together to pretty much set aside their differences and just play a game that they want to play. As all this indie publishers came, Kickstarters and crowdfunding have also came to kick everyone's ass. So many people have been creating more and more and more games. They just need help funding it. That's Kickstarter and crowdfunding. Like GoFundMe have helped tremendously to bring more TTRPGs into light. Just recently, I backed a Kickstarter called Hell of a Town. It's where you're like a cartoon character. Back in like the when did Mickey Mouse? When was it Steamboat Willie? A long time ago. But you would be a kind of character like that. You would be set in a cartoonish 2D era with black and white. It would just look old. There's Roll20. Is it? It's DC20, sorry. There's DC20, there's Helligan's Guide to Monster Hunting, there's Monster Hunter, there's another one, Fool's Gold, that's also coming out at some point. It is just brought in a lot more diversity and bringing in more people that have a certain niche in gaming, and it helps them have something to play with. From the early 90s, the 2000s, now we're in the 2010s and on. There's a thing called technology that entered the world, and we're in it right now. That's where all of these shows that brought TTRPGs to light, like Critical Role, The Adventure Zone, we got Dungeons and Daddies, we got D&D, we have Greetings Adventures, This Game is Cursed. Let's scroll down and pick some out, give them some shout outs. Friends at the Table, Random Encounters, The Homebrew Podcast, D&D is for Nerds, 20 Sides, a D&D podcast, shout out to them especially because they are great. Tales from the Stinky Dragon, all of these different people bringing in TTRPGs to share stories and bring these amazing games to life. From just podcasts or Twitch, YouTube has come into play where you could physically watch people play these different games, from XP to level 3, Apocalypse players playing Call of Cthulhu, the Arcane Library playing Shadow Dark, and especially Legends of Avernus playing Root, D&D, and many, many other RPGs. Shout out to them. Which has grown this community to even higher and higher extents. It has helped people come out of their comfort zone and bring in their own creativity to pretty much stick their toe in the water and see it expand to even greater and greater heights. I am extremely thankful that TTRPGs are a thing, because if they weren't, I don't know where I would be today. Because before I turned 14, I didn't know what to do. Yes, I was 13 at the time, and I was a young fucking kid. But I'm extremely thankful for my brother for bringing me into his friend group, and that's where D&D helped me start this whole entire adventure. So I'm extremely grateful that my brother, I'm surprised he brought me along, but I'm glad that he did. I'm thankful that he did, and I am also thankful to still have people that are willing to play with me. Play TTRPGs. And that's kind of it. That's just a quick rundown of what TTRPGs are and what came from it. All the shows, all of the people that I shout out, go check them out anywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, anywhere. They deserve so much. And I know there's so many more that I haven't said, but go check them out. Go try the old and new RPGs, TTRPGs, or whatever. From just wargaming to what it is now, it has blossomed incredibly. So, thank you all for listening to this quick-ish episode. We are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all of that stuff at Creatures and Cantrips. Coming into the new year, we will be having some other stuff come up. We'll be doing a best of with some teasers and some other stuff coming up. So be ready on that in the next couple of weeks. Jesus. Like, share, comment, rate us 5 stars. It helps us a lot. It really does. It knows that you all actually want us to keep doing this. And if you don't, I'm still going to do it. I love doing this. Share to your best friends, your families. Anything can help us. We really do appreciate it. If you want us to do any specific topics or play a specific game, let us know. Send us a message on Instagram or Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. I don't bite. I swear I don't bite. So anyway, thank you all once again. Enjoy your evening, enjoy your night. I hope you were comfy and cozy, at least a part of a comfy or cozy section. If you're at work, get back to work, man. I'm sorry to bother you for 26 or 25 minutes, but get back to work. You're doing a good job, though. Anyway, see you, love you, miss you, goodbye.